Welcome to the LongBox Paradox, episode 45, and today got 3 reviews for you. Actually, I have a 4th one. It's going to be real short and to the point. So I'm not going to subject everybody to my just tirades about Batman. Batman 81 came out. It was pretty terrible. It was every bad impulse all strung together. Between the horrible writing and then the even worse art by John Romita Jr. Where issue 80 was like a subdued John Romita Jr., this was every bad impulse John Romita Jr. in this one. Just avoid it. 4 more issues, guys. 4 more issues, and you never have to hear me talk about Tom King's run on Batman ever again. So yeah, it's a hard pass on that. Probably a 3, maybe a 4 out of 10. Just bad. I don't even want to waste time pulling images. Not good. So we're going to go right into Marvel Comics and Absolute Carnage number 4. Donny Cates just bringing the pain. Ryan Stegman doing a great job. And I have to give a little bit of credit to the color artist Frank Martin, who makes these pages just pop. So we start out, we have the Immortal Hulk now in control of Venom, and Venom and Carnage are having a throwdown. Eddie, now no longer with symbiote, is trying to be a hero, trying to do anything to stall while the heroes get healed and come back. So he grabs Captain America's shield. He also grabs a gauntlet. I can't remember if it's Iron Man's. And he goes out and says he's going to be a hero for 10 minutes. And he starts to fight the symbiotes. The Immortal Hulk and Carnage are going at it, and Carnage starts to send tendrils into Hulk's brain and kind of infecting it. Manages to get the Venom symbiote. Miles Morales is broken out of his symbiote that was kind of controlling him. And now we have Carnage with the Venom suit, and he's got this armor and like devil horns. Captain America and the other Avengers come and start to help him. They're all fighting Carnage at this point. And then Eddie sees that all the codexes are being kind of collected and kept. And he breaks into it. And he basically comes out as like a super Venom kind of. They all kind of take over him. Now Venom has wings and is chasing down Carnage. There was a lot going on in this issue, just a ton. And it was action-packed, pretty good action scenes. Eddie and Spider-Man have a good kind of discussion of Eddie, trying to be the hero and him having to promise to, make sure Dylan's okay. The Sleeper kind of disappears. I'll give this issue 7 out of 10, maybe an 8. I'm kind of borderline. Again, Cates and Stegman, they have a good, dare I say, symbiotic relationship. The way that the writing and the art have merged and telling the story in a pretty great way. I am staying away from a lot of the side books. I'm just not interested enough. It's been a good run. Just stick to the main series, and you're really not missing anything, and it kind of fills in the blanks as you go. So with that being said, going to move on to another Marvel book, and that would be X-Men number 1, Dawn of X. Really been looking forward to this. We have Lenil Francis Yu on art, with, of course, Jonathan Hickman writing. interesting team. Starts out with Professor X and one of his first meetings with Scott, where Scott gets his ruby quartz lenses and he's afraid to open his eyes. He opens them, and yeah, Scott's like, I can see. And Professor X is like, oh, better than most, my boy. The team now on this is Cyclops, Storm, Polaris, Magneto, Dr. Reyes, Jean Grey, Havoc, Vulcan, Wolverine, Cable, Prestige, aka Rachel Grey, and Corsair. And starts out with Storm and Cyclops. They're invading, looks like a Sentinel factory. And Cyclops is, having this banter with Stormy, like, I'm always careful. It's part of my charm. And they're going after, basically, actually, they don't really say at the beginning what they're going after. It's these altered mutant children. Magneto breaks in with Polaris and, starts wrecking shop. And they find the children. There is also these mutated apes that Magneto attacks. We see a little bit more of Krakoa, where they add a little bit to these flowers and it opens gates. There is a child that comes out of one of the tubes, and she says, I'm not here, you don't see me. And Storm's like, what are you talking about? I'm looking right at you. She is human, but the tachyon bleed suggests massive atemporal developments, technically post-human. And she's just saying, I'm weak, so weak. I emerged before I was fully cooked, a child born out of time, but I had to, don't you see? There are wild gods loose in the world. And then she says, I have to go, and disappears. And we have all these other mutant children there. And they come back to Krakoa, and Magneto is basically the conquering hero, where everybody's chanting, Magneto's back, Magneto, Magneto. And he's got his helmet off, and they talk about how it's like he's a young man again. A lot of this is kind of interesting. We meet someone who actually has appeared before. Director Dev. I believe it was the Bachalo run. He appeared. It's more of a fallout from that Sentinel base that was destroyed. That was in the sun. They're sending bodies out, a la Wrath of Khan, into the sun. Cyclops has his house on the blue area of the moon, where the Attilan was with the Inhumans years ago. And the whole Summers clan's there, basically. And there's an interesting scene here where Vulcan is cooking steak and Wolverine is saying, I want mine rare. And then he makes it medium rare, and Wolverine gets pissed. He's like, you son of a... just a weird cooking moment. Then they have a Cable talking to... I want to say Raza, and they're comparing guns. Jean Grey's in her Marvel Girl outfit. A lot of banter, and Corsair is given one of the flowers, the Krakoa flowers, to have portal. Interesting issue. Again, heavy dialogue. You really kind of gotta follow what's going on. Lenil Francis Yu's art is on point in this. There's a lot going on, and again, this sets up a larger universe. And of course, there's a reading order of when things are coming out. The next one coming out is going to be Marauders, followed by Excalibur, then New Mutants. I'm interested in this. Again, this is a great setup issue. Hickman, his world building right now is on point, especially resetting this whole mutant universe. Solid 8 out of 10 for me. The Art Germ Jean Grey Marvel Girl cover, if to me, is the one to get. Search it out. The 1 in 500 version variant, though, it's way too expensive to get. Unless it falls down to like 100, I wouldn't even touch it. And then from Boom Studios, we have Something is Killing the Children, issue 2. First thing I will say is I was really disappointed by the cover. The Final Order cutoff cover was disappointing, especially after having that Jenny Friesen one for the last one. Still, I mean, the A cover for this to me was the better cover. In this one, we go right away with, we meet a new character, Tommy, and we find out, his sister's been taken. She's gone. He's going into work. He's a manager at Applebee's. And he's walking out, and he's just, saying fuck. And he hears something. He says hello. And we see this giant creature drooling by his car. And he says, is anybody there? Go to the title screen. And then we have our monster killer heading over with the kid from the first issue to Applebee's. And she wants to just get a table to use as her office. And she hands him a 50. And they start pulling out a map, and they're looking at where all the kids have gone. And he's saying, have you done this kind of thing before? You're acting like you've done this kind of thing before. And she's having flashbacks of, killing different creatures. And she's like, yeah, I've done this kind of thing before. Now show me where your house is. And then starts pointing the little pins down of where all the other kids disappeared. One of the waitresses is talking about, the kid, him, he's the one who lived, but the other kids died at his house. So the guy Tommy goes over and starts talking. He's like, yeah, that's where I live. My sister disappeared from her. I'm her brother. And they start going back and forth. How the fuck do you know my name? He starts, getting aggravated, and she tells James to grab her backpack and go outside. As he's going to do it, he stumbles and drops her bag, and giant knife comes out, and she pretty much about breaks his arm. They go outside. He calls the cops, and she, gets a call going, yeah, I know the drill. If it doesn't happen every time, I'm hanging up now. She's like, James like, who do you keep talking to? She's like, an asshole. She's saying, if someone comes to talk to you, you can say everything that's happened. Just tell the truth. You don't need to lie, because they're going to think we're crazy anyway. Yeah, pretty much. And she heads back to a hotel room, and she's got like what looks like a sock puppet, and she's talking to it. It's talking back. Policeman comes over after the hotel manager calls. He's like, I don't know what you've got in there, ma'am, but I don't want any funny business. She's like, oh, nothing funny going on here, officer. Now what seems to be the problem? And then behind there's basically this spirit with tendrils kind of in the air. And that ends the issue. Not a whole lot happened in this issue. It was a setup issue. I'm going to go with a 6.5 or 7 out of 10 on this. Not saying it was a bad issue. I just was kind of hoping after issue 1 a little bit more would happen. Find out a little bit more about our blonde monster killer with the one large giant eye. Again, there's parts of it that I like. I just wish there was a little bit more going on. Another thing I didn't get to read yet, but I've heard bad things, is the Flash Forward. Flash Forward number 1 was terrible. Again, nothing on Brett Booth's art. I love Brett Booth. But just one touching on the dark universe again. and then having to use Dan Didio's poor ideas from Sideways and kind of trying to make them relevant just all seems bad to me. But I might post something about that on Instagram later once I get a chance to read. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for joining me and watching my little review show. And tell me what you think. Anything I'm missing, I should be reading. Am I wrong? Or, is there something I missed that maybe changes how I feel about one of these books? Anyway, thank you, take care, and goodbye.